Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, radio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you're driving along in your car or your truck, or stick in those earbuds as you're sitting on public transport. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how globalist controlled Western political parties and party machine bosses and recruitment sort of drives have gone out and aggressively targeted and recruited minorities into the Western, hitherto all-white political parties. Now, excuse me, this has sort of led to a situation where today we look at the Conservative Party, the Tory Party in the United Kingdom, just having lost an election where all the primary contenders, so we're told, all the primary contenders for leadership of the once mighty Conservative Tory Party of the once mighty British Empire and now consist of three brown people and two brown people and two black people, I think it is, three of whom are women. So we've got a young woman, black woman, who for half of her life didn't even reside in the UK, and she's only got citizenship by virtue of anchor baby birth. And she fronts up in dreadlocks and talks like a schoolgirl in a debating club, and she's touted as a leader for the Tory Party in the United Kingdom, you know, the head, the leader of the whole party. I mean, it's almost beyond belief. The next one is a brown person who's not even Christian, who comes from of Indian heritage, comes from Africa, and she lives came to England and is now it was a former minister, and as the other one was. And but anyway, I think you get the idea. Now, I've read the bios of a lot of minority people who have ended up being given very cozy situations in white Western parliaments and legislatures. I mean, you look at AOC in the United States, and the Cory Bush and Rashida Tlaib and so on. Now, once you read the bios of these people, you realise that none of them would have chosen a political career, or even would have thought of it, or even would have considered becoming politically active. None of them. So there's nothing about their position in Parliament or in Congress. There's nothing about it. It's organic. AOC in the United States was a part-time. Worked part-time in a bar and had no job, had no career, had done anything, produced nothing, created nothing, built nothing, and yet she was approached by people who thought they could use her, and she was given a dream run into all expenses paid. She didn't have to go around and raise the money or put the infrastructure together. This was all done for her by the forces in play that wanted to put her in there. So it's very different from someone who decides that they want to get into politics because they've got something to say or something to offer, or they've achieved many things in their life and then decide to go into politics. This is not one of those, nothing like that. All these black and brown people have been approached by all white, globalist controlled talent scouts who've gone out to look, okay, we can use this person. We want minorities, and the more minority boxes you tick, the better. So black, female, and lesbian, or black, female, and Islamic, or something. All these things are important. We want to get as far away from the straight white male situation as possible, and this is what we're going to do. So all of these people were approached, gifted, talked into it. Oh, but it's hard. I'll have to work hard. I don't have the. No, we'll make sure you win. We'll do all the work. We'll do everything necessary to make sure that you get. We'll give you a safe seat in Parliament. You'll make more money doing this than you ever will. If you get just naturally and organically, the best you can hope for is working in some outer suburban retail store on a shit shit wage. That's the best you can. But we can give you a world that otherwise, and we can turn it into reality. We can give you a world that you never could have dreamed of achieving in your own right. Well, why are you doing this for me? Well, because you're a fucking black female, and we need black. The globalists have ordained it. They have ordered it, and we've been sent forth, like Herod's soldiers to kill the firstborn. So it's been very much almost an evangelical type mission that the globalists have given to the political machinery of the Western polities, and you go out and get minorities and put them in parliament. We don't care if they're not up to it. We don't care if they're morons. We don't care if they've got IQs of minus 10 million. It doesn't matter. Just fucking get them and give them positions in parliament, get them elected as representatives. So this is what's happened, and so we need to understand there's nothing organic about it, but it's gone beyond the bounds of organic, where, say, low quality, low IQ minorities try to become politically active. They're active at the local branch level. They're active, in assisting political campaigns at election time. They're really putting in the time and the effort, and they've got something to say, something to offer. Excuse me. Maybe they won, or maybe they've achieved, without affirmative action handouts. Maybe they're very bright kids who've got top quality degrees in political science or something like that. But that's not the case here. If you like, the talent scouts from the globalist controlled white political parties, they've gone out to find people. Where are they? Oh, look, there's a black person going down there. Oh, look, run after, go chase after them. Ask, see if they want to come into, see if we can seduce them with baubles. And so they're being brought into, in the same way that I'm sure the early proselytizing Christians, as they were going into the dark heart of Africa, were offering baubles in exchange for being baptized. It's almost got that same flavor about it. So these people aren't people that would have been politically active or involved in any way in the political scene. They've just been invited in and given a free ticket to be a freeloader. And this is where we're at today. Now, this is, if we just go outside of the political space for just a moment, look at the wider issue of finding minorities. In sort of when this affirmative action thing sort of first started kicking off, and the idea of having token minorities was at the company I was working for at the time. The board of directors was really getting on board, on jumping on the bandwagon on this. We should have more minorities, and no reason why. They'd read about it in newspaper, they'd heard about it. Now, these are people who are quite wealthy and who've inherited a lot of wealth, who've never had to apply for a job, who've never had to, write up a resume, who've never had to achieve, they've accomplished and achieved nothing in their own right because they've inherited so much wealth. They think flipping prime waterfront real estate for a profit makes them high-powered business people. So they think they're hot shit, these guys, and unless they've got that sort of socialite type attitude to the world. So they're pestering me constantly to hire minorities, and even getting to the point where they want black, not just brown, and things like that. So they're getting quite particular. That guy's not black enough. So now, if black people apply or brown people apply, then that's one thing. But the idea of going out and aggressively looking for and finding black and brown people to hire, that's a whole different thing. But what I found was that if even one black person applied for any of the jobs that the company was advertising, I'd instructed HR to let me know, and they did. So it was down to the state where as long as somebody wasn't white, and at the time I was being pestered in particular about hiring minorities, we would grant an interview to somebody simply because they were black. And if they had the name like Deshaun or Shaniqua, Okay, you're black, right? Get them in, and as long as they were even minimally plausible, we'd seriously consider giving them a job of some sort, just to create the token numbers. But we're looking at something different here. This is where the political machine is actually going out, looking for the scouts are out there looking for people to hire, and encouraging low IQ, low quality people to come into politics and giving them a dream run. Now, in the years when I was politically active, at least going around and attending branch level meetings and that sort of stuff, there were never, I didn't see any, what straight white men made up 95% plus of the, there was very few women, and you'd be lucky to see any brown or black people. Now, if there were active people, minorities that were active in the political scene, they would have been a tiny proportion of the total, which means that they would have been approached and offered something simply because they weren't white. So once you go down this path, however, to really sort of create a cosmetic look to its appearances are all that matters. But we have to also realise that at the same time as there were more and more minorities coming into the white Western parliaments, the control that the globalists were exercising over these politicians and over these parliaments was also increasing at the same time. So really, the issue was window dressing here, where it didn't matter who was party leader or prime minister or president. It didn't matter, because it was all window dressing anyway, because all the decisions weren't being made by your government or your politicians. It'd be made by the globalists behind the curtain, who were ordering what was to be done. And this is very, very clear today. We can see this. And recently, the Australian government announced that because COVID had lowered the amount of immigrants coming to Australia, that they had to increase the amount of immigrants currently, now and I think into next year, to balance the numbers that they must and were supposed to, and that they were budgeted to have. I mean, that was a confession that some central authority is budgeting, saying, okay, you have to have so many immigrants per year, and if you don't make that number in 1 year, you have to make it up the next year. I mean, Australia is supposedly has a sovereign government and it's a sovereign nation, but it's clearly not. There are instructions writing instructions from central authority, and they'll say, you will do this and you will do that. And the idea that the government is sovereign is now quite absurd. And this is all the case across the whole Western world, which is why they're desperate to stop Trump or people like Marine Le Pen in France, because Trump and Marine Le Pen would return sovereignty to the government, and that simply to the globalists cannot be allowed under any circumstances. So the makeup of the parliament and the political representatives directly reflect the degree of control that the globalists have. So if you have all your candidates for leadership are all minorities and people who have achieved and created and produced and built nothing in their lives, then you know that that's an indicator of the level of globalist control and the lack of sovereignty in the government. So this is something that we need to sort of understand. It's also, in a secondary sense, it's also, there are two other reasons, I guess, or two other things to consider. I mean, if you're a white guy, straight white male who considers that they do have something to offer, they'll block you and make sure you don't get into any leadership position, number one. But if you did manage to make it, they would very quickly get rid of you, or they would emasculate you. And the next stage here, this is the ultimate humiliation for Britain, that all the candidates for leadership of the once mighty Tory Party, none of them are white, and three of them are non-white and female. This has got to be the ultimate degradation and humiliation for Britain, the British people, and again, a once mighty political party and a once mighty nation. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.